Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Fundy Motorsports Magazine. I'm Dave Hanlon, and on tonight's show, we've got a couple great things for you. First off, the CMA sanctioned motocross racing, and it was held out at the Hammond River Raceway last weekend. We'll see a race from that in a moment. Coming up in the second half of the show, we've got part 2 of our interview with Lee McCumber. Now, he's the only mini-stock owner and driver in southern New Brunswick, and if you watched last week's show, you've seen the part 1 of the interview. Well, this week we've got part 2. But right now, what do you say we see some CMA-sanctioned motocross action from the 250cc intermediate and expert class? The races were held last weekend out at Hammond River Raceway. So let's take a look at that now.
Okay, we'd like to welcome all our Cable 10 TV viewers from St. John. Filming this for the Fundy Motorsport Magazine. I'm here with Abby Landry, myself, Paul Short, and we have an expert rider with us, Steve Joyce. He's a local boy from St. John. Coming on the line, we have the 250 experts, and number 77, Brett Beal. Number 17 is Mike Baguin. He's riding for Honda Canada. 129 is Frank Campbell from Moncton, New Brunswick, riding for Toys for Big Boys. Number 63 is Joe Doucette, riding for Freedom Cycle. 120, Steve Kaus, he's from Dartmouth. Number 182, Scotty Lockhart, all the way from Spring Hill, Nova Scotia. He's riding for Action Accessories. And number 31, Glenn Hoare from Moncton, New Brunswick. And as we can see here, the 250 experts on the line, just waiting for the 30-second mark, and the 5-second card will begin the race.
Also out there with the experts, we have the intermediate riders out there. Some of the intermediate riders, we have James Smith from Moncton, New Brunswick, number 81. We have Earl Doucette from Salisbury, New Brunswick, number 78. We have Kimball Johnson from Riverview, New Brunswick, number 4. We have Mike Sanford from Fall Rivers, Nova Scotia, riding number 85. And we have a couple boys from the USA up here. We have Jeff Horn, 828, and we have Jeff Emery from 842. The 35-second card is now up, and they're off.
Looks like Mike Baguin gets the whole shot around the first corner. Brett Beal right along, and Kimball Johnson right there as well. Glenn Hoare bringing up the 4th place position just off this start. Who's 83? Joe Doucette? Yeah, 63, Joe Doucette. Moves in front of Glenn for 4th place. 842, who was that? Brett Beal now up in the 2nd place as we start this motocross from Hammond River Raceway, 250 expert and intermediate. Mike Baguin still out in 1st place. Second place for the 250 experts, Brett Beal from Sackville. He's riding the Suzuki. Kimball Johnson. Brett Beal, number 77, riding the Suzuki. 2nd place, coming up to the finish line. Kimball Johnson, number 4, you see on the screen. Joe Doucette battling Kimball Johnson for that 3rd place position. Glenn Hoare coming up right behind Kimball Johnson, challenging for 3rd place position as well. Mike Baguin up over the step jump for 1st place. As we see a shot of the track here, it looks fairly rough and ruddy. We have a local rider, Steve Joyce from St. John, New Brunswick. And how's the track out there today, Steve?
It's getting extremely rutted and really, really rough. It's getting real bad.
Is it fairly dusty out there today, or is they keep it watered down pretty good?
They're doing a good job keeping the track water down. The dust is staying down fairly well. There's no mud or anything. They're doing a really good job with it.
What's the competition like out there today, Steve? I hear it's pretty tough.
The expert class is going real good. We're all staying together, and there's nobody really pulling away or anything. It's just Mike Burgoyne, he's having a good day. Brett Beal, everybody's going good. Joe Doucette, he's getting fast in places. Glenn Hoare, everyone.
I understand you're an expert rider yourself. What place did you finish in the first moto?
I had a rough first moto. I finished 5th in the 500 class and finished 4th.
Okay, that's local rider Steve Joyce from St. John. We'll be chatting with him in a few minutes. Back to race action. We see Mike Beglan, number 17, still in that commanding lead for first place for the 250 expert class here at Hammond River Raceway. I'll hand it over to you, Abby. You can say a few words if you like.
Well, we have a Frank Campbell that doesn't seem to be out here. He injured himself in the last moto. We hope he gets well here too. Excuse me, I guess he is out there. Coming around front, we have Brent Bale, Glenn Hoare, and Joe Doucette. A real tight race. Mike Burgoyne seems to be walking away at the moment. You gotta watch Glenn Hoare for his move. Glenn Hoare come out of retirement this year to race the fall series and seems to be doing exceptionally well. Coming out front, we have an intermediate ride, Mike Sanford, and one of the boys from the States, USA. We have Earl Doucette from Salisbury, New Brunswick. And the halfway card is up.
Sitting here with us, Steve Joyce from St. John. We'll give him the mic for a few minutes and maybe he can go through the track, maybe follow the first place rider and kind of explain to us what each jump is.
It's still Mike Burgoyne out in front in the 250 expert class. We have rider just fell down. It was one of those American riders in the intermediate class. Jeff Emery from Torrington, Maine, on Kawasaki. Still Burgoyne way out in front. Brett Beal in second. The section Burgoyne's going through is getting extremely rough. It's all whipped out, starter bumps, everything holes. The section here, there's real deep holes here. If you get your front wheel caught in one of them, you pitch your way over the bars really quick last year. You have the front end really light. This straightaway is full of ruts from getting loose. Dirt getting loose, tires ripping it all up. Burgoyne's getting good traction around it. As he comes over the whoops, he's going to put the intermediate rider lap down. It's Earl Doucette from Salisbury, New Brunswick. Now he's behind another intermediate rider. He's going to lap down. He's one of the American guys. Jeff Horn from Brewer, Maine. Going. He looks poised, calm, and in control. This goes down the stretch. Honda Candace, Mike Burgoyne, still up front on the 1991 Honda CR250. He's pulling away quite far now. Brett Beal in second place. the whoops. Goes through them extremely fast. Over the step jump. He's come on some lap riders. 182 Scott Lockhart. Just goes over the finish line jump. And Kimball Johnston, one of the top intermediate riders in Atlantic Canada, and Glenn Hoare. Two laps remain for Mike Burgoyne from Grand Falls, New Brunswick, in the Honda Canada CR250. Glenn Hoare close behind, but he seems like he's in full control. Steve Grouse, he's way back, way off the expert pace today in this moto. He must have fallen or something. Mike Burgoyne, Glenn Hoare, over the step jump. Round the turn, coming to the finish line jump. Glenn putting the pressure on Mike Burgoyne. Glenn Hoare from up in New Brunswick, he was a former national rider. Oh, he almost goes over the bars there. Good control. In '89, Glenn had his best year. He finished 5th overall in Canada in the Nationals and Supercross and Series. Former Honda Canada rider himself. And he's putting the pressure on Mike Burgoyne. The 17 on Mike Burgoyne's bike represents the position he had in Canada last year. But he tends to have that number even higher. Keeps his pace up. Seems to pull a few seconds from Glenn Hoare now as he comes towards the finish line jump. Through the ruts, down the stretch. Glenn Hoare seems to be faster through here, but not quite the control that Mike Burgoyne has. He seems to pull from him again here. It's still Burgoyne out in front on the Honda Canada CR250, closely followed by Glenn Hoare from up in New Brunswick. So that's 129, Frank Campbell from Moncton, New Brunswick on the Honda CR250. He seemed to fall or something. It's still Mike Burgoyne, all Mike Burgoyne this race in the Honda Canada CR250. All in front of Toys Big Boys. 2 laps to go for Mike Burgoyne, the Grand Falls rider. And Glenn Hoare goes by. Glenn Hoare from New Brunswick takes the lead. Former highly ranked national rider makes advantage of the mistake Burgoyne makes and puts a good pass on. Glenn Hoare, can he keep Burgoyne back? Mike tries to take him on the inside and doesn't seem to work. Honda's run 1 and 2 in this race. One of the most talented riders on the track right now is Glenn Hoare. He's out in front. Watch the smoothness and the grace of Glenn. Takes the last lap card. One more lap for Glenn Hoare. Mike Burgoyne close behind the Honda Canada CR250. Still Glenn Hoare out in front. Number 31, Glenn Hoare out in front on the Honda CR250. As he's coming to take the checker flag around the turn, he's done it. New Brunswick, Glenn Hoare takes the win, followed by Grand Falls, Mike Burgoyne, Honda Canada CR250. and they're way ahead of the other riders. Looks like it's going to be Brett Beal on the Suzuki RM 250. He's going to take third place in this race. And these next two, I believe, are lappers. I'm not sure. 129, Frank Campbell, and 182, Scott Lockhart. Number 4, Kimball Johnson takes the win in the intermediate class, followed by Mike Sanford from Nova Scotia in second place, 85 on the Honda. 828, Jeff Emery takes third place in the intermediate. Joe Doucette takes place in the expert.
Some great motocross and ATV action last Sunday at the CMA sanctioned motocross racing out at Hammond River Raceway. Right now, what do you say we join part 2 of our 2-part interview with Lee McCumber? Last week we had part number 1, and what we're doing is we're talking to Lee about mini stock, why he is the only owner-driver in southern New Brunswick, and what exactly got entailed in putting the mini stock on the track. Welcome back. We're still out at Forest Hills, and I still have a couple more questions for you. One I do want to know is, as far as the safety gear, back to safety again, as far as that goes, is there specifications for like your helmet, your gloves, and do you have to wear a fire suit?
Okay, the fire suit is optional. You're allowed to run one or not. Unfortunately, dollars and cents, I haven't got one yet. I would definitely feel a lot better when I do get my own suit. Gloves, again, are optional. I find they bother me as far as driving goes. Some people like them, some people don't. Of course, a helmet has to be CSA approved, you know, just like a normal.
And that is mandatory in racing.
Oh, no question. Yeah, you have to have a helmet there. You gotta protect the brain sometimes.
Even for those of us who don't have one. And I'll just drop it at that. Now, the suspension on the car, it's not just your regular street suspension. You've obviously done modifications to it.
Okay.
I won't really ask you what you did do to it, but what are the limitations that you can do, too?
Okay, basically everything has to remain in the stock position, like your struts, your shocks in the back. You're not allowed to change them around in the body. You have to run basically the same unitized body as the car came with. You're allowed to reinforce it in any manner that you would so desire, but as far as changing any suspension points, no, you can't. Now, you're allowed to, as I mentioned earlier, you're allowed to change the wheelbase from left side to right side, and you're allowed to run any spring combination that you would so desire, and it would probably scare you at the size of the coil springs that they run underneath them, because they'd probably hold up a Mack truck. So you have very little suspension travel on the track.
Yeah.
You know, you don't want it to go, like, probably our suspension travel would only be maybe 2 or 3 inches at maximum, and most of the time it doesn't even do that. So I mean, it's pretty beefed up. You're allowed to run heavier struts, heavier shocks, that kind of thing, but again, you're not allowed to change them as far as the points of where they connect. But,
okay, another thing with the engine. I know we're kind of bouncing all over the car right now, but with the engine, is there a restriction on, like, what you can, like, bore it out, and maybe explain what boring out an engine actually is? Okay,
when you get an engine, you know, the one that came in the car is the one that we started with. You're allowed to bore it out to any size that you want. Of course, there are limitations as far as the manufacturers are concerned, because you run into problems if you bore them out too far. And boring them out is simply making the hole bigger and putting a bigger piston in it to get, again, more horsepower. We're not allowed to exceed the 2-liter limit, for sure. But in our case, we could bore it out just, you know, to its maximum and still be well within our specifications as far as legalities go on the rules and regulations of the Eastern Mini Stock Association. As far as the rest of the engine goes, as far as the, you know, the head, you can do anything you want, except there is a limitation on the duration, which is how long your valves are open inside your head. There is a limitation on how high you're allowed the camshaft to lift, and as far as how far a gap the valve can open inside the cylinder. It has to be carbureted. There's no question about that. It cannot be fuel injection. You know, it'd be a nice thing, but we're not allowed that yet. It may come in years to come. And what was the other thing now?
Well, with the
the camshaft, like I mentioned, the camshaft.
Yeah.
And carburetor. Oh yeah, and there's only 2 valves per cylinder. You're not allowed to run a multi-valve combination.
Okay. Now with the pistons, they're obviously not street pistons either. They are stock pistons.
Yeah, they are stock pistons, and yes, you can run them on the street. I believe the rule book says that they have to be a stock flat top piston. Now it can be an aftermarket. It can be like a forged piston, or whatever you so desire that you want to run. You can run it, but as long as it is a basic flat top piston. You know. And because, I mean, when you get into dome pistons and that kind of things, well, then you're going to run into valve problems, valves hitting. You're going to run a compression ratio that's super high, and you're going to run into problems with overheating. And there's a lot of ins and outs to it, I guess, that they just said you're allowed to run flat top pistons, and that's it. No question asked. Then there's no problem.
Now, I've heard a lot of people, when they do go out to races, they complain about the noise of the cars. And that's obviously because you guys don't run mufflers on them. What kind of exhaust system do you actually run on them? Or if any?
Well, it would be nice if you could run a little short pipe right off the side of the manifold, but we're not allowed to do that either. The ruling is to come back 3 feet off the exhaust system. Now, as far as the manifold pipe goes, you have to run an 1 3/4 inch pipe, which is very restrictive as far as the compression ratio and things of this engine. You know, you can make them work real hard, but you have to get the exhaust out of the car. Otherwise, you're defeating your purpose. That 3 feet from the manifold, you can run as big as you want after that. But at that point, it doesn't give you a whole lot of advantage. After it's been restricted that long, you're going to lose so much that you can open it up. You know, you can cut it off there if you want to. It's not going to help you a whole lot. Our particular car in the manifold has 2 lead-off pipes off the exhaust manifold, and it runs down into one where it's 1 3/4 inch for distance, and it conforms because it came from the factory that way. But mostly the other cars only have the 1 pipe that runs off them.
Now, for those who don't know, why do you not run a muffler? Does it boost up the power to the car?
Definitely. I guess there's a popular misconception that people have that if you take the muffler off, you lose power. That's not so. When you take the exhaust system off, as we have here, you gain horsepower. Your engine does not have to work to push an exhaust through the muffler, because the muffler is a very restricted piece of equipment. And basically, if you take it off, your engine doesn't have to work or lose horsepower pushing that exhaust through that muffler. The quicker that you can get it out to the atmosphere, the more horsepower you're going to build. No question.
I remember when my muffler of my car fell off, it almost sounded like I belonged out in the track.
I granted it is noisy, and a lot of people refer to this class as the Bumblebee class, because it does have a very unique sound to it, no question.
With the 4 cylinders.
With the 4 cylinders, they have no, it's not North American horsepower, I guess. It's Japanese horsepower, no question.
Kind of,
kind of thing,
Yeah, I can understand that. Now, earlier on, you mentioned your pit crew, and you owe a lot to them, which is true. Every driver does owe a lot to their pit crew.
I guess they do. The crew that I have, Kevin Isaacs, who is basically my crew chief, he works with me in at St. John Toyota. He's my main man, I guess. And I have Scott Needle, this is his father's place, where we keep the car from race to race. Rick Swan, who is, I guess, kind of the spark plug of the bunch. When we all get down, he plugs it to us and gets us all going again. He doesn't let us quit by any stretch of the imagination. And of course, I have to have a mention to my girlfriend, Elaine Collins, and her 3 little boys are probably my best fan club I could ever imagine, because they stand up in the stands and they have made signs and they holler and scream and they go on. And of course, the first win that I had, it was a trophy dash out here at Hammond River. I had enough kids around me wanting their picture taken there after the race that I didn't know what to do with myself. I was quite excited, I gotta admit. You know, the car has finally won its first race, and everybody had perked them up quite a bit.
Yeah, exactly.
No question.
So it's not just like racing a car like this. It's not just something that like 4 guys go out and do. It is a family event.
Definitely. I know since I built this car, it's blown me away the amount of enthusiasm it has generated. Like, all the guys at work they ask me how I make out, and they ask me where the next race is, and everybody is into it around the dealership. People have called me, people have called the dealership, and talked about it and asked about it, and there's been a lot of people even call me wanting to know how to get in on the mini stocks, because it is a very good form of racing, because I find that there's a very gentlemanly class.
Mm-hmm.
There isn't the banging and the crashing that maybe you would get in, say, just like a bomber class or a street stock class. It seems the people in it are a little more refined. The rough edges are taken off, so it's more enjoyable for me anyway.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, for those who do want to get into mini stock, hopefully we've struck an interest with a few people out there. You mentioned you're the only one in St. John who has a mini stock. If they do want to get involved, like maybe start their own mini stock, how do they get involved in it?
Well, I guess the way I heard, or the way that I get into it, as far as the Eastern Mini Stock Association, it was almost by fluke, I'm afraid to say, that I just happened to catch wind of it, and I got a hold of the right guy in Moncton. As far as if anybody would like any information, they can call me. I'm in the book, or they can call me at the dealership, during working hours, and I would definitely fill them in as far as I give them phone numbers and any questions that they would like answered. I would be more than happy to answer them for them. I'm going to tell you right up front that it's not something that you do just on the weekends, because it's almost a full-time job.
A job after the job.
A job after the job is right, and there's a lot of running around, a lot of parts to get. The expense isn't really way out of the way if you have a couple of half-decent sponsors, or even one good one. You can get by, without any problem at all. But it's well worth the effort as far as I'm concerned. It's been a lot of fun for me this year, and like I say, if it wasn't, I wouldn't be in it.
Yeah, exactly.
No question.
How did you get into racing? Just off a whim.
Just off a whim. Back here in 1988, I raced Thunder Cars, which was the last year at Hammond River for Thunder Cars. It was a step above, say, street stock, okay? And we were real fortunate that year. We get into it. It was our first year into it, and we learned all kinds of things all year long, and we ended up taking the championship and Rookie of the Year that year. And I really liked it a lot, and I had a few problems as far as my own physical health there the following year, and I got out of it, and I hadn't even thought about it till this year, till my dealership came to me, and they said, would you like to race again? And of course, foolish me jumped at the chance. I didn't have enough things to do, that I wanted more, right? But no, all kidding aside, it is a great thing to do, and it's a lot of fun, and I would recommend anybody to do it.
Yeah.
Anybody that has any kind of a whim for driving, it's a lot better doing it on the track than it is out on the highway.
Exactly.
No question about that,
And like you said, it's even a lot safer.
Oh, it's a lot safer. But I guess even though I've raced a lot of races, previous to this and this year, it's just a rush for me. I love doing it. I love getting in the car, and I love racing, and so does my pit crew. They are behind me 100%, and because I have such a good bunch of guys, it makes it that much more fun to race with.
Well, thanks a lot for talking to us today.
No problem.
Good luck in the rest of the season too, and hope to see you in a full season next year.
We'll give it our best shot.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, thanks a lot.
Okay.
That was Lee McCumber, the only owner-driver of a mini stock in southern New Brunswick, and it was a lot of fun meeting Lee. I'd like to thank him for giving up his time to do that interview with us. Now, coming up at Hammond River Raceway, August 24th, which is next Saturday, the Twin 20s Bomber Fall Championships, and this is going to be for the big bucks as well. Motocross will be moving to Glace Bay this weekend, and on our next show, we'll have a report on the National Auto Slalom Championship, so don't miss it. On behalf of our producer, Don Ferguson, I'm Dave Hanlon for Fundy Motorsports Magazine. Keep motoring. Here are the winners from last Sunday's race. In the novice class, driving bike number 169, Jeremy Landry driving a Honda. In the intermediate class, driving bike number 4, Kimball Johnson, also a driver of a Honda. In the expert class, number 17, Mike Burgoyne, driving a Honda as well. Novice class, Adam Roberts, driving a Suzuki, number 21. Jeff Emery, number 842 in the intermediate class, driving a Kawasaki. Glenn Hoare, number 31 in the expert class, driving a Honda. In the novice class of ATV, it was number 11, Mike Brubé, driving a Suzuki. Brent Lewis, number 9, driving a Honda in the ATV expert class. In the Schoolboy A class, number 727, Doug McDonald driving a Kawasaki. Adam Roberts, number 21, driving a Suzuki in the Open Novice. And the Open Veteran, Scott Lockhart, 182, driving a Kawasaki. In the Intermediate Open, Kimball Johnson, number 4, driving a Honda. Glenn Hoare, once again, number 31, the Open expert, also driving a Honda.